So this is a video I've been meaning to do and a story I've been wanting and meaning to share for a pretty long time. This is something that happened 10 years ago. 2011 to 2012, I'd say, were some of the roughest and worst years of my life. Partly because of things that happened in my life, and partly because anytime there was a decision to be made, I probably made the worst choice. If I look back on my life now, like replay it in my memory as a movie, I'm there with popcorn, like probably yelling at myself, going, no, go the other way. No, not that door. And it's a lot of that. So let's just get into this. So I'm just gonna out and say it. It's been 10 years. And I was raped at Burning Man 2011. It's something that I've talked about to those close to me, not really in great detail, but I've spoken about. And those who I kind of found at the time know what happened. But I've never publicly talked about it until now. And part of the reason is I didn't want to feel like that kind of a victim. And one of the reasons I'm finally saying it now is festivals have been gone for a while, concerts have been gone for a while, and they're just coming back now. There's a lot of younger party type people who are ready to kind of throw caution to the wind and go hard after having to not do anything for so long or go out for so long. And I kind of want to be a cautionary tale, or even just, give a heads up of what does happen. The fact that it happens to me doesn't tell me that, oh, that's just a rare event. The fact that it happened to me and I couldn't report it or anything, I'll go more into that. It tells me that this happens a lot. A lot. And I want to share my story. Despite all the time that has passed, this is honestly still a little hard for me to talk about. Living the kind of life I've lived, I've had a lot of questionable instances of harassment, assault, sexual assault. But, most things I've gotten past. This is an instance that to this day still kind of shakes me. That it happened, that I'd allowed it to happen. Obviously, when I look back on it, I'm like, there's so many ways I could have avoided this. This isn't about victim blaming. Of course, in a perfect world, we should be able to go out, be like, do whatever we want, be in whatever state of mind we want, wander around, and not have bad things happen to us. But no matter what, this is not a perfect world. And it's not right that this happens to us, and those people that do these things are predators. But if you don't want it to happen, or at least to minimize the chance of this happening, you do have to take certain precautions. And I wasn't that way. I used to be this very fun, free-spirited person. And, a lot of experiences that were bad kind of broke me of that. So let me give you a little background on myself. Burning Man was something that I was so into and so excited about since I was in high school. I remember watching a special on one of the art cars. It was like this dragon that breathed fire, and just being like, whoa, what is that place? Who are these people making these things? I was kind of this weird artsy kid in high school. Didn't really fit anywhere. I had my small group of friends. We were all kind of weirdos, and we didn't care. We let our freak flags fly. I'd spend time in high school at the library looking up pictures from Burning Man, different art cars, people there, things to do there, and I was so sold. I could not wait to be able to go myself. And those of you unfamiliar with Burning Man, I am describing it as a festival. Burning Man is more than just a festival. It's not just a music festival. It is like 5 miles by 5 miles. There's somewhere between 30 and 50,000 people attend. It is a temporary community of just, as they describe it, radical self-expression and self-reliance. And it is actually, in theory, and if the art there and things there, it is really cool with everything that's there. But it also tries to build itself and the people as kind of a safe space for people, that the people Burning Man are good people. Any bad people are those new jocks that come in. And speaking from my own experience, I can say that is not the case. Burning Man has a big problem. Fast forward to a lot of life events between the ages of 18 and 22. Again, I made some very poor choices, lived a pretty adventurous life though, and then by 2011, I was dating someone. He was honestly terrible. I'm not going to go into details about him in this video, but he was terrible. And I was completely used, abused, and it was just awful. But he had an obsession and introduced me to the whole Burning Man type of group. I call them now, and he called them at the time too, the Feather and Leather Elites. They were those people who thought they were, I don't know, spiritually higher than thou. Some of them weren't. Some of them were very fun people. And some of them were very down to earth. But as a general whole, people running around in feathers and leather and, you know, with dirt and stuff all over them, they were pretty snotty. But not in our inner circle we had at the time. But he was obsessed with going to Burning Man that year. He did this weird ultimatum thing where he said he was going to go back to San Diego if we lived in LA at the time together, if we did not find a way to go to Burning Man. Well, at that time, I was actually in the sex industry. I was full on in it at that time, and I had taken a job that was cross country, and that's something, a whole nother story time on that job. It was the first time I ever did anything like that, and that was a disaster. But I took the money from that, Western Unioned it to him with the intention of he was going to get all the supplies, wait for me at our apartment, which is another thing that was an issue. We were actually required to have our apartment vacated before this whole trip. It had to be cleaned out completely, all our stuff out. We didn't have a place to go after that. A lot of our roommates, one left and the rest decided that they were just going to move out. One of them moved back to another state. So we had to clear it all out. Well, he made this big stink about how someone, I guess, passed away, a friend of his, and they were doing some sort of a ceremony at the temple at Burning Man for it, and he had to go early for it, and took off and said he'd find me there. And get back to our apartment, it's a complete mess. First of all, complete mess. I have to clean it all up, pack, find my way to Burning Man. He left a couple, was some money there. It was like $100 or like $1,000 something left, and he didn't get me anything except for like a water bottle holder. He went and spent it, got his own stuff and left. So I had to spend that whole night cleaning up as fast as I could, getting everything packed and ready to go. We had one mutual friend who was nice enough to let us store our stuff at his place, and I had to set all that up. And actually, after Burning Man, this friend was nice enough to let us stay at his little off-type place he had just rented, which is funny now because it was totally not habitable for humans. No offense. I know you're awesome for living to stay there, and I know you lived there briefly, but it wasn't. And even now, it's just totally an industrial space. It looks like a garage, and it is not to live in. But we weren't homeless, and so I got everything together to Burning Man, and I was reaching out on Facebook, seeing who was going, so I could get a ride up there and a ride to Walmart along the way to get my supplies and stuff, because I had nothing. And then I actually found Travis, who I had met as an extra on The Guild. That's the YouTube web series, The Guild. I was an extra in, I think, 2 episodes, and he was 2 in 2011. And he was heading up there, Burning Man, and yeah, he said I could drive part of the way. Now, spoiler alert, I hadn't driven in that whole year. It's been a year, a very rough year. I didn't drive. I was on no sleep, and I was there trying to drive. I think I drove from LA to Reno, and we did stop along the way somewhere between LA and maybe Santa Clarita or after, I don't know. But there was a giant Walmart, bought a bunch of stuff there. I got a bike, I got a tent, everything I could need. I was completely going to Burning Man in a tent, by the way. If you look at how most chicks that look decent at Burning Man go to Burning Man, they're not in tents, they're in these nice RVs. I was tenting it. And I didn't know where I was going to camp, and Travis and his friends were nice enough to let me stay at their 80s theme camp, which I was convinced I would need to do more than one night because I was going to find my boyfriend, or whatever the heck he was to me at that time, who after the first night. They clearly knew better and were like, just stay here, it's cool. And in hindsight, I should have just hung out with them and made friends with them, but I was so wrapped up on finding the people I knew and everything that I didn't. They were kind of an older group compared to me at the time, and it was an 80s theme camp, and I don't know, I had my mindset in totally wrong places. But we make it to Burning Man, which is really far drive. You drive to the middle of nowhere and it feels like you go a few hours further from it. And upon getting there, I realized, wow, it's probably going to be very hard to find anyone that I know here if I don't know where they're camping. And there was no way to contact, no Wi-Fi that year. Cell phone service doesn't work there. There was no way of communicating. So I pitched my tent and got my stuff there, got myself all set up. I had my own expectations of what Burning Man should be based on what everyone I was hanging out with at the time was saying about how it should be this spiritual experience and the playa will take me to where I need to go. Everyone called it home at the time. So I was kind of expecting that because I was in a really rough place in life. I had just separated from one of my exes who I had a child with. I was going down completely the wrong path, trying to figure out how do I get my life together so I can, have my son with me, because I knew I was just a mess and I was just spiraling and trying to figure out how to get it together. And for some reason, I thought going on a drug out bender at Burning Man would be the way of finding that out. Hindsight, not doing that and not giving my money away or spending it on Burning Man things would have probably been a better way. But that's not the decision I made. So I also, from a friend, bought mushrooms before I left. I had never done mushrooms before, and I thought Burning Man would be a good place for that. My first night there was actually a very enjoyable night. I did some mushrooms from the little baggie that I had. I had no idea how much to take or not take. I took some, nothing's really happening. Riding my bike, I'm going from our car to our car. Take some more, wait a while, nothing's happening. So I eat a lot of mushrooms. And then finally, it starts happening. And I probably had a little too many mushrooms, but it was still a good night. I was wearing my leopard spirit hood at the time, which is a little hood with ears. I had met someone else, this guy who was also I believe he was wearing a wolf spirit hood. And it was honestly, I shared my mushrooms, and it was like being two puppies going around from our car to our car and just having a good time. It was just good natured fun, no issues, not even a sexual thing going on, just having fun. And I was like, wow, this is what I pictured Burning Man to be. We saw a lot of art, we went on a lot of art cars, we drank a lot. End of the night, well, it was probably morning. Beginning of the morning, we parted ways. He took me, I guess he was staying with, they were the elders of Burning Man. Gave me some wine from them. I gave a hug because I had nothing else to give. And I went back on my way. And that was my first night. Days probably around from 11 a.m. until nightfall was probably spent sleeping. This is the one night I did sleep in my tent. It was kind of rough sleeping in there, I must admit. So my next night was also pretty decent, if I recall. I was kind of wandering around, having a good time. Stayed up to some sunrise party. I didn't know the people I was with. I didn't know what I was doing, but woke up on some random couch in the middle of the playa with the sun rising, and had a good time. And then things get a little weird. So the camp I was staying at, the 80s camp, I wish I could remember everyone's name, but I don't. They were making their own mushroom tea though. And of course now I'm all about mushrooms, and I've never tried mushroom tea. So they brewed the tea, I have some, everyone has some, and they're all just kind of hanging out, getting ready for Thanksgiving, vegging out, and I go and get my bike, and I got my little, I think I have a little bag I have, and then I have everything set to go. Which the one smart thing I did is I did leave all my identification and I think my cell phone, everything locked in my tent in a locked area, because I did not want to lose those, no matter how much of a mess I was. I did lose my camera that I brought though, because I had that with me on the playa, so that was lost. But they were like, where are you going? Don't you want to hang out? And I was like, no, I'm going to let the playa lead me to my boyfriend, which saying it now is the dumbest sounding thing ever. But I was convinced. So I'm riding my bike into the horizon. And I see, I don't know why, I never noticed it the other nights, but I have this green laser in the sky, and I feel like it's pulling me, leading me to where I need to go, but I feel like it keeps moving slightly. And I just feel like I'm following this thing forever. Burning Man's huge, by the way. There's a lot of open playa too. It's like its own city. It's huge. So I'm trying to follow this thing, and then flash forward to like probably later that week, I find out that this was an art exhibit in the sky of a laser clock. So I was following like the minute hand on a clock, trying to be led where to go on the playa. I eventually get somewhere, but this night didn't go as well. I started at my usual thing, kind of going art car hopping, hanging out, and then the person I was hanging out that night was this guy. I don't recall his name either, but he had a goatee. Again, this isn't like a crushing sexual interest type of thing. I was literally just going to explore, feel childlike, and try to figure out what the heck I'm doing here and supposed to be doing with my life. So we go art car hopping and stuff, and I think we had a good night. We did have a good night. We actually found some people I did know there. Some of the people I knew whose art car wasn't allowed to be there, but it was there anyway. They had the space lunch. I found that group of people who were familiar people to me. And then the sun starts coming up, and this is the last I remember of this day. The sun's coming up. I'm with the goatee guy, and then there's some other guy. And this other guy, God, I forget, he identified himself either as one of the fire marshals or one of the rangers or something. I don't remember what he identified as. But we were all hanging out by a barrel that had a fire going. This whole trip, by the way, I'm taking whatever from anyone. Drinks, liquids, drugs, food. There was caution to the wind for me back then. And that's just how I was. I was very carefree then. And I remember he had a flask. He offered a flask. I took a sip from the flask, and honestly, it's just total darkness. I don't remember anything after that. We were having a conversation, and it's just darkness. There's just nothing there, memory-wise. And I mean, I've had other nights where I've gone so heavy when I was younger on drinking and drugs that I blacked out. But this one feels weird and different. This was just, it's not even bits and pieces. It's just darkness. And then I woke up, and I woke up in this yurt-like tent. It was big. It wasn't like a normal tent. It was a big area. There were a lot of beds along the sides of the tent. I woke up in one of them. It wasn't like a bed. It was like a military-style cot type thing with some blankets and comfy things on it. I had no idea where I was, which wasn't the scary part to me. I had a lot of nights in the past in my youth where I wake up random places and be like, who are you? Where am I? This was very different than that. And so I'm kind of trying to catch my bearings and figure out what happened and where I am and what's going on with me. And first thing I noticed when I look at me is I was wearing this cute little Burning Man leathery outfit thing with a skirt. The top was all off to the side and it was distorted a little, like it had been pulled, and my bottoms were the skirt was completely ripped. The thing that tied it together had to be tied on was completely broken. There was no way to get the skirt back on. My underwear was low and stretched out completely too. And I'm just gonna go with all the gross details on it. I had completely peed myself, and there was even a tiny little poop there, and something traumatic had definitely happened. I mean, the peeing yourself can happen if you drink too much, but I had never experienced anything like waking up like this and with crap and somewhere. It was really bizarre, and I was a little alarmed about what had happened. And then a woman walked in. And you'd think these would be the details that would be the clearest to me, but I think because of the night or day I had just had, whatever substances I had done or had not known I'd done, or I don't know, it isn't. But I remember a woman walking in, she had a clipboard, and I assumed she was a nurse. I was in some nursing tent, maybe I passed out somewhere. And I asked her what happened, and she's looking at the clipboard, and she says, someone brought me in, and he kept saying that he was my boyfriend, but I kept yelling that no, he's not my boyfriend. And this is a big, I still don't know what exactly that means or what happened, but that is a big red flag to me. I don't know if it was that guy from earlier with the goatee or that other guy from earlier, some random person. I have no idea who brought me in or why they would claim to be my boyfriend. So I'm just in shock. I'm not even seeing straight either. I'm not feeling so well because everything that happened. I'm just like looking at her like, do you know who it was? And she's like looking and reading more. Then she goes, oh, and there was some fucking. And I'm like, what kind of, thinking in my head, what kind of nurses talk this way? And I'm completely bewildered and just go, fucking? Like I'm questioning it. And she just goes, yeah, I don't know why I'm not asking details. I'm just like sitting there stunned. I don't know if that was the person who brought me in, the goatee guy or another guy. I have no idea. And I definitely would not have consented as I'm yelling that someone's not my boyfriend to anything happening. So yes, someone got one over on me, and I was currently raped in a yurt at Burning Man. And apparently this wasn't a nursing yurt. It was some sort of Burning Man sponsored relaxing tent. There's a lot of different tents for different purposes. And the fact that this is the information I'm getting from there in this way, and I'm clearly not okay. The woman left, and I just wanted to get out of there. I wanted to get back to my stuff. I just wanted to find my boyfriend thing at the time, who apparently I just didn't know what to do. So I grabbed my things. I couldn't get my skirt on. It still upsets me. So I'm holding it on, and I probably have like an fake eyelash stuck to me somewhere when I'm walking out. I'm walking out. The sun is so harsh. I can't tell if it's going up or down. I don't know what day it is or what time it is. And I walk out trying to find which way my camp is and my stuff. And my bike's gone. Everything is gone that I did have with me. Thank God most of my stuff was in my tent. So I start walking in the direction I assume it might be. I don't really know where it is or where anything is. I'm holding on to my clothes, and of course guys and people are coming up trying to ask me what's wrong, and it's okay. And at this point I went from being super friendly, happy, who talked to everyone, befriend everyone, Liz, to everyone just seemed like they had some sort of ulterior motive to me and was evil. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I literally was just kind of trying to hide. If I could have been invisible, I really wish I could have been invisible at that one moment. And a lot of people tried to talk to me. Some people tried to like block my path to stop me, and I was ready to punch them, honestly, but I didn't have any strength to do it. I felt so just sick and weak and just sad. I mean, not just from emotionally, so physically, everything hurt. Like, everything did hurt. I feel like something happened and everything hurt. And I had some bruises too. And finally someone did stop me, and I don't know why, but there was something about him that seemed really nice and kind to me even in that time. And he did turn out to be a nice guy. He did. He was staying at one of the more tech camps. I forget who he worked for, but he was staying with people he knew there. He had an RV. I went and cleaned up in his RV a little. He gave me some real food. Got some real food, and he helped me find my way back to my camp. And we kept in contact for a little bit after that too. But when I got back finally to my camp, I said what happened to Travis. I go, and he takes me to talk to some of the I guess consider the rangers there. I'm not sure. And herein lies one of the problems with Burning Man, at least during 2011, is there was little to no visual law enforcement presence, which I guess is good for people who are woohoo, we're at Burning Man, but when you have a real issue, there's no presence there to get answers to. When I spoke to his ranger friends he knew, some of them said that they heard something had happened and some guy got chased off. I don't know if that's relevant to this or if that's true or what. I still don't know what happened. They told me the only way to kind of get any sort of rape kit or anything is I'd have to get someone to drive me all the way down to Reno, which was very far. And I guess for some reason some people were leaving. There was traffic that day, and it would take a really long time. And I don't know, a mixture of not wanting to know and not wanting to bother anyone. I was just kind of I don't know. I was kind of just on this weird autopilot. I wasn't even myself. And when we're talking about traffic leaving Burning Man, we're talking about like 4 hours to get out to Burning Man when there's traffic, or up. When there's like later days after all the burns happen, you can stay stuck there for like 8 hours trying to just get out of Burning Man onto that road, because it's like at least at the time, was just two, a lane going each way to get out of there. So I just didn't do it. And I didn't have any details or think anything would come of it anyway. I had no idea what happened, and I still don't. And to whoever, if you're watching this, whoever did do that, congratulations. You get one up on me. I have no idea who you are or why, but if I did, I would kick your ass today. But no, I'm not the forgetting type. And when I get emotional nowadays, I can get violent. But that's not what this is about. That day, I actually found the camp of most of the people I knew at the time. They were in a camp. It was called like Playa Surfers. And I found them, and they had said that the guy who was my boyfriend, my real boyfriend, who still kind of wasn't my boyfriend, my partner at the time, was around there a lot. He wasn't staying there, but he'd go by there a lot. So now I finally knew an area of where to kind of look. But things are kind of getting rough for me, both because of probably drug use and because of what had happened that other night. I'm kind of falling apart. One of the nights after that, apparently I didn't learn my lesson. I went and hung out with he came back to my camp, the guy from the tech guy camp, and we went to the art car hopping, went to some bar off in Deep Playa somewhere, and I guess I drank and did too much then too, because I ended up in some relaxation tent again, ended up with some Reiki treatments. I'm going to tell you, with Burning Man, they have these weird sponsored tents, events, treatment things, and they keep like a file on you. And I would love to see this, because apparently I had all sorts of things done that I don't exactly recall or know why. Or I have no idea. I don't think they worked. Fast forward to my final night alone at Burning Man, where I'm kind of on my own mission. I am so determined now to go to the temple, to actually have this spiritual thing everyone says you can have at Burning Man, to figure out if I should even be there, why in there, and should I be with this guy that I've been with, who was my boyfriend? I mean, the answer is clearly no, but at the time I was like really determined to figure out if I should stay with him or not. So I get to the temple. They're doing some sort of, chanty thing in it, and I do have a moment. In there, and I break down crying. And I have a moment where I realize what, of course, I should have known the whole time. I should not be there. I should be with my son, which I need to figure out how to find work, a steady place to live, and get my act together to make that happen. Obviously, down the line, I did get it all together and figured that out and got sober, and here I am now and have my son and everything. But this was a very bad year in my life, as I've said. It was 1 year. It was just awful and bad decisions. And after having that moment in the temple, I kind of wander off on my own. And it's a really harsh night. It gets very cold at Burning Man at night and very hot during the day. And I didn't have it out anything like this. I wasn't dressed warm. I think I called it my winter socks. I had warm socks. I was still wearing just like a bikini type thing and a hat and gloves. And that's my cold weather gear. It is freezing. And there's I think there were sandstorms that night. No idea where I was going. It was so cold, I was shivering, I couldn't walk anymore. And then I finally get back to where there's camps and stuff, and I collapsed in the middle of a random cuddle puddle. There's a lot of cuddle puddles at Burning Man. And in this random cuddle puddle, just by chance, someone puts their arm around me, and I look over, and it's let's call him now, my partner. The person who I was looking for this whole time. And I just broke down crying and said what had happened. And he clearly was, concerned and cared to an extent, but he was on a different journey through Burning Man. His was basically trying to sleep with as many females as possible on his journey and staying in their RVs and having my money and all that stuff for himself. And he had new gear and clothes and stuff he was wearing. And yeah, but I was just happy to see him And we talked again to like the rangers and trying to figure out what exactly happened, and we could never figure it out. But that was my Burning Man. And obviously I don't say that Burning Man's responsible for what happened to me. However, what Burning Man didn't comply with is there was no way for me to really get answers. There was no way for me to officially report anything there that I could find myself. I couldn't figure, I couldn't figure out how to report this. And this is why rapes and sexual assaults at Burning Man are so much more common than you think. I mean, so common. And I hope others that have had this experience happen at Burning Man or other festivals do share their experiences, because it is underreported. There's no way to report it there. They make it very difficult for there to be an official report or anything. Actually, a few weeks later on my Facebook, I get a message from that goatee guy saying, "Oh my God, I heard what happened. Are you okay?" Again, I have no idea if this guy's the guy that did that, if he's responsible in any way. So I don't respond. I just block the guy. And I just wanted the experience to have never happened. That's pretty much where I was at. I wanted that to not have happened. I wanted to just be able to take that from my life and be like, that didn't happen. But it did. And to this day, it clearly still kind of rattles me a bit that it did. But thank you guys for watching. And be smart out there.